The Digital Photography Cafe show is brought to you by Focus Pyramid, the autofocus lens calibration tool for your camera.
Welcome to the Digital Photography Cafe show. Join hosts Trevor Current and Joseph Christina as they serve up the hottest photography news and commentary.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the show. This is episode 171. I'm Joseph Christina here with my co-host Trevor Current. On last week's show, I talked about Corel AfterShot Pro 2 and gave my first impressions. If you haven't watched last week's show, I encourage you to do so. You can find it at digitalphotographycafe.com and our YouTube channel, youtube.com/dphotocafe. Listen with the popular Stitcher, TuneIn, and Xbox music apps, or subscribe through iTunes or RSS.
Hey Joe, we're back. How you doing?
Very good. We are here. Welcome back.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. Good to be back.
Excellent.
Yeah, so one thing I wanted to just kind of put out there to everybody. I know, I watch the videos and every week and as we're prepping the blog posts and stuff like that. And I know Joe always says every week, Trev can't make it. He's busy, with a lot of client stuff. But I just want to say that really is the case. I'm not, I didn't have a relapse.
You're a liar.
I'm not sick again or anything like that. So it's just one of those, when it rains, it pours. I mean, it's a lot of client stuff coming in all at once, which is great. I mean, especially before the holidays. I'm also really busy with a big, huge project for the photography community. This is something I was kind of just starting on over a year ago, just prior to getting sick, and then everything kind of took the back burner. Now I'm under the gun here. I've got some heavy time frames to get this done. We're looking to launch this towards the beginning of the year. And it's going to be really cool. I don't want to say too much more about it because it's always one of those, you start talking about it, then it doesn't happen, and people are like, oh, you're full of crap. So.
No, absolutely. Yeah, I know you've been working really hard on it. I've been trying to keep everything status quo while you're gone.
Keep the boat afloat. Keep that village
going, keep moving.
Man.
That's right. They say the show must go on. So, yeah, last week kind of talked about the Corel AfterShot Pro 2 as a possible alternative to Adobe's Lightroom. And we kind of got into that a little bit. And we did request, and I said that we did receive a copy of the package to take a look at. And I did spend a good number of hours in that package to really kind of get into it a little bit. And I kind of like it, so I think we're going to get into that a little bit this week, right? Yeah.
You put together a nice side-by-side comparison between Corel AfterShot Pro 2 and Lightroom 5. And, I already watched the video that Joe did, and it's really interesting. I mean, it definitely is an eye-opener. It makes you think, so...
Yeah, and like you said, video. If you guys are listening, which many of the tens of thousands of you are probably listening in your car throughout the world, try to watch this week if you can. Jump onto the YouTube channel, jump onto our site itself, digitalphotographycafe.com. Actually watch the show so you can actually see that comparison, because it's very interesting to actually see it happen in comparison to
just listening to it. Yeah, and the video is HD, so go HD with it, go full screen, and you'll be able to see all the menus and stuff like that. You'll be able to see all the text and really get a good feel, I think, for what the two packages can do.
Absolutely. So all right, guys, let's without further ado, let's jump right into it. But before we do, let's go ahead and get to a quick break to hear from one of our sponsors.
Are you frustrated with slightly out of focus images when you know your autofocus spot was dead on? It's simply not your fault. From manufacturer to manufacturer, and even lens copy to lens copy, there are slight variances to the exact spot where light is being focused onto the sensor. Finally, there's a product that allows you to compensate for those variances and make sharper images immediately. Focus Pyramid, the autofocus lens calibration tool, is an absolute must for every photographer. If you want to make the sharpest images possible, then you need to take control over your camera's focusing system. With the Focus Pyramid, you can calibrate all of your lenses on your lunch break. The Focus Pyramid makes lens calibration quick and easy at an affordable price. So give your lenses a new lease on life and take your photography to the next level. Head over to focuspyramid.com/DPC and get an additional 10% off just for being a show listener.
So we're going to take a look at Lightroom from Adobe, and we're going to look at Corel's AfterShot Pro 2. So what I'm going to do is try to do something different here. I don't know if this has been done, but I'm going to bring up both packages simultaneously, side by side, and we're going to do the exact same thing to both. I selected some images from an Escada shoot. Escada is a fashion designer. We did a fashion shoot at Donald Trump's place at Mar-a-Lago in Palm Beach. I think it was a year or so ago, and I figured those would be some nice images to take a look at. Let's go ahead and get started, and I'm going to bring up both packages. First, I'm going to take Lightroom out. That's Lightroom 5.6, and that's the 64-bit version. And we're also going to use the 64-bit version of Corel's AfterShot Pro 2. So they're basically on the same playing field, let's say. Now we're going to open up AfterShot. We're going to stick that right next to it. So as you can see, we have the two packages kind of side by side. Both look kind of similar, but you have your window on the side here. These are all your drives. So a little bit different. Here is more like a directory tree type of structure. On this side, it's a little bit, I think it's like a little bit more refined. It looks kind of nice the way they have set up here. So we're going to take a look at the drive. Let's see, the drive is the passport drive. We're going to go into Photos, and now let's see, in Lightroom, we go into Photos. Now, we can see already that there's a difference. Now, over here in the Lightroom side, you'll see that there is only 3 directories. There's 3 different shoots that are in here that have been imported, and that's it. On the AfterShot Pro 2, conversely, you see the entire directory structure. Now, how does that matter, or does it matter? Well, it kind of does. Let's take a look at this. I created a directory called Escada here, which is basically this Escada fashion behind the scenes shoot, but I just made a copy of it. So this way, neither package knows about the images at all, so that it's completely fresh and they're not cached at all. So you're kind of looking at it real time. We're not giving one an advantage over the other. So right away, I'm going to go ahead and click on the Escada, and we can see immediately comes up the images. I'm going to make it on thumbnail so you can see them. Now, what has happened here on the Corel AfterShot side, all of the images are just popping in here all the way down to the bottom. So here's like 200, let's see, it says at the bottom, 205 pictures. Within seconds, all of the pictures are here. They have the thumbnail with the number, the image number, for you ready to work on. You can go and start making your selections, 1 star, 2 star, whatever you want to do. I like that a lot. Now over here, conversely, on the Lightroom 5 side, we see that it doesn't exist, right? So we cannot work or look at any of these at all until they're imported into the Lightroom catalog. Now, I don't like this as much, and the reason being is that means that every image that you look at through Lightroom, you're having to import it into the catalog. And if you're like me, and you can see this directory structure here, that was just for, this is less than a year here on the Corel AfterShot side, you can see just tens and tens, and there's probably 100 different jobs in here at least, and that's for like a year. So we go through just hundreds of thousands of images a year. It's a ton. So if we don't need to bring them all into catalog form, that would be great, right? So anyways, we need to bring it into the catalog to be able to look at them in Adobe Lightroom. So let's go ahead and do that. What do we have to do? We can't look at it here. We can't go into this asset management area here and just click on a directory or a folder and get in there. We can't. We have to go into files, and we have to come down to import photos or video. At this point, it'll bring up this another area of import. Now it's going to say, where do we want to import it from? Now we say we're going to go into the passport drive. We're going to come into photos. You'll see all of these jobs once again, and you see here it says Escada. We click on Escada, and now it's going to bring up the thumbnails, which is very similar to what Corel AfterShot has already done, right? So now we can go ahead and unselect or select the ones that we want to bring into the catalog at this point. So we're going to go ahead and keep everything selected and click import. it's going to start importing. Now, you can see how these are importing, right? We got 5, 10, now 25. They're slowly coming in. If you see these little dots, these 3 white dots, like right above, what that means is it's still processing that image. It'll bring it in so you can see them as thumbnail form, but you can't work on them really as of yet. They're not fully loaded, let's say. So it's still chugging away, bringing these photos into the catalog. So anyway, so here they are, and they're basically the same on the left and on the right, on the Lightroom as well as on the Corel AfterShot. They're the same. So, okay, so before we make a selection, let's go ahead and change the color of some of these images. The Kelvin is slightly off. We can see some of them are very yellowed, right? So let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to come down here, and I'm going to do the same thing on the Lightroom side. We can see they're just about the same. There's slightly more images on the right-hand side on the Lightroom side, but it doesn't matter. We can see where we're at. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select the first image. I'm going to double-click on it over here on Corel AfterShot, and I'm going to do the same thing over here on Lightroom. So here's the image. On both sides, what we're going to do is we want to go ahead and balance out this light. This light is really, really yellow because the amount of flash that we were able to use was at a minimum. So let's go ahead and make this modification. We're going to, on the Lightroom side, we're going to pull over the little panel to the side. And over here you have different things that you can do with it, okay? You can do your light balance, you can do your tonalities, your tone control, and keywords, and all of this stuff, right? That's good. Now, we'll do the same thing over on the other side, on the AfterShot. We'll pull this over, and once again, you have your basic adjustments, your curves. But what you'll notice here, which is different, is I want to use a dropper. Okay, and I want to use the dropper to select a specific region that I know is going to be that 50% gray, let's say. So to do so, over here on the Corel AfterShot Pro side, right at the very top, there's a little dropper. See where it says white balance? We can go as shot, or we can do all the different methods using custom Kelvin. We can do flash, shade, cloud, all like the usual. But what I want to do is I want to go ahead and select the dropper. With that dropper, I'm going to go ahead and select down here. And that's it. So now it went ahead and balanced according to that specific location on the stage. Is it perfect? Probably not. But it's just for kind of demo. Let's just leave it like that. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the same thing over on Lightroom. But wait a second, guys. I can't, right? There's no dropper here. There's no dropper at all. You do have your pull down where you can do light or cloudy or shady or tungsten, but there's no dropper. What do we have to do to get that? Well, with Adobe's Lightroom, it's all modularized. So we have to go into one of these other modules. So by clicking into develop, now we have a host of other things that we can do. And once again, we have the little dropper there. We click on the dropper, come down to the bottom, click in about the same region, and we have a similar type color. Not exact, but close enough. As they say, close enough for government work. What we've noticed here already now is number one, when we imported the pictures on the Corel side, we were able to work on the images immediately. On the Adobe side, we're kind of having to load them into a catalog first before we do anything. Now, number two, we want to go and do a color balance. Now, to do that, we do it immediately in the AfterShot side because all of the options are available to you on one screen. For the Lightroom side, that is not the case. Once again, it's very modularized. We have to find the module that we want to use. So at the top, you can see we have a library module. That's for your asset management. You have your development module for all of your development tools. And in, like I said, AfterShot, it's all together, which I really do like a lot, instead of having to constantly jump from module to module. You'll see at the top, you have mapping module, book module, slideshow module, print, web, on and on and on. I'm going to change them both into thumbnail once again, just so we can take a look at everything as a thumbnail. And now we'll notice that we made this modification, and that modification stuck, and everything else is yellow, but the color, the light, is proper in this one image on each side. So as a photographer, we're going to say, well, we want to go ahead and make this modification happen across multiple images. So let's go back into the development module again, then select at the bottom the image that we would like to use as a baseline for that adjustment, and then come at and let's say we'll grab like maybe 10 or 15 of them. And now what we'll see is at the bottom right-hand corner, you'll see something that says sync. We would go ahead and click sync. And then it comes up with a window and says, what do you want to sync? We're going to go ahead and just sync the white balance for right now. So we hit sync, and now it goes and slowly synchronizes all of these that we selected with the first one that we did. Now, a little bit kludgy. Okay, not as easy and straightforward as we would like, but it did the job. We come back into the library module, and you can see that our base image, you can see right here, has been used to modify this list of maybe 10 or 15 others, which is good. Now, how do we do it with Corel AfterShot? Let's go ahead and select this image that we want to use as a baseline for a color correction. Let's just simply hit Command C or Control C, and then we're going to shift click a bunch of images. You see we highlighted these images. Now I'm going to hit Command V, or as you would be Control V, and that's it. It goes ahead and makes the modification. Not all this craziness that we'd have to do in Lightroom. Now, is it something that's a deal breaker saying, oh, Lightroom isn't as good as Corel or Corel is better? But no. But I just want to kind of show you the difference between using the packages for just day-to-day stuff, big monster projects that might be 2,000 images. Different things allow you to get through the process quicker. And for me, I'm the time is money guy. I like to save time. So now let's go ahead and do all of them. Get rid of all this yellowing. So let's select the first one again. I'm going to come down here, scroll down to the very bottom. I'm going to shift click. I'm going to Command V it. And that's it. It applies its settings right across the entire gamut. And you can see it slowly writing them in, making these modifications to the thumbnail. Let's go ahead and do the same thing over here in Lightroom. Let's go ahead and take that first image on Lightroom, and now we're going to go all the way down to the bottom, and we're going to shift click all the images. But wait a second, where is my sync little button? It's gone, right guys? Well, the reason it's gone is I moved out of the development module. Now, I can go back into development module and go and hit sync and do it all over, but from the bottom, or I can simply right click and click on then develop settings and then select sync settings. Now, it will come back up with the synchronized settings information, and it will ask, what would you like to synchronize? I'm going to synchronize white balance, and I'm going to hit sync. And that's it. Same kind of process without having to go into the development module, but it's a little bit hokey. You have to go through different pull downs and menus, and if you don't know, and if you've never done it before, you'll be lost trying to find them. Anyways, is one better than the other? Not necessarily. I do like anything that will save time. It is important to me. So now I can tell you one thing, guys, just from playing with this and working on it. I am not here to do a review that says one is faster than the other, but as of right now, I can tell you for sure, Corel feels a lot more snappy when doing processes, but we'll just leave it at that. That's not a definitive, that's not scientific, that's just what I'm feeling as of right now from working with it. So anyways, at this point, let's go ahead and make some selections. Who's this guy with the camera? Yeah, that's me. At the end of the stage prior to the actual fashion show. Let me go ahead and select myself and change that to a 1. And I'm going to do the same thing down here. So we have the girls, we have me, and maybe let's grab a couple of behind the scenes of maybe doing some makeup. So now that we made a couple of image selections here, so we have 205 images, and maybe we selected maybe 20 or so. Let's go ahead and filter for those 20 so we don't see all of the thumbnails. We come over here where there's a little thing that has like a little siphon, a little filter on the Corel AfterShot Pro, and then we select single star. Now here you can see there's many different ways of making this filter work. You can do from labels to flags to ratings to color ratings, and you'll see that when we do the same thing on the other side, we have that same availability to us. So I'm going to go ahead and select 1 star, and you'll see the exact same happened on both sides, all single stars. So now, what are we going to do? Let's maybe straighten something out. Maybe do some cropping. So let's take the first picture. If it needs to be straightened or not, we're going to do it. To do it in Lightroom, we're going to click the development module, and then we're going to click the crop. It gives me the ability to either crop, keeping the same aspect ratio like this, or we can grab one of the corners and then rotate. Basically, how you straighten up a photo. You can also do it by clicking on this angle, this little ruler, and take the ruler and push it across one of the straight edge lines. Now over here on the Corel AfterShot, we have two different buttons at the bottom. We have a crop that allows you to crop either aspect ratio or crop just custom. So next to the crop tool, you'll see another tool that has like maybe a crooked picture. Now that picture is the tool that allows for straightening. So if we click on that and then click anywhere on the screen, you'll see a circle pops up. And in that circle, you can see a hash of lines of like thirds and a straight line. Well, that straight line, once again, like your ruler on Adobe's Lightroom, if you take that straight line and line it up with anything that's straight in the image and just let go, the image will automatically snap to straight. I like this tool a lot. It is nice. It just feels good and it works really well. So from the straightening tool, we can jump over here to the crop tool, because you can see that it's slightly off now. It's rotated. So we'll go ahead and if we want to kind of bring it in a little bit, let's go ahead and do that. We'll do the same thing on Lightroom. I want to kind of lose a little bit of this bottom piece. So let's go ahead and crop in just above that, and let's bring it down just slightly underneath the chandelier. And maybe we'll lose this light over here. All right, that's not too bad. I don't mind that. And what we'll do is we'll do the exact same process over on Lightroom. So here's the crop. I go ahead and hit enter, and this is what we end up with. Now I'm going to come over here to Lightroom, and I'm going to do the exact same thing. I'm going to click on the straightening tool. So I click crop, then I click the little ruler. Then I'm going to click on the screen and drag that ruler so that it's straight. The line is straight across a piece of the picture that I know is supposed to be straight. I let go, it automatically does the crop. I hit enter, and now we're rotated. So the image is straight now. We're going to go ahead and click the crop once again, and then actually using that same aspect ratio, crop in the same that we did with the Corel AfterShot Pro. So we get right around the same area. Might not be exact, but we'll get close. That looks pretty decent. That's not too bad. That's pretty close. So we go ahead and hit enter, and now you'll see the area is just about identical. Now we're going to do some adjustments. We might do some color adjustments. We might do some exposure, maybe some contrast or whatnot. We can do that by just simply bringing over this little side here, panel, and we have everything once again all on the single screen. We could come down to exposure, twirl down exposure, and now we have exposure. We can go to sharpening, twirl down sharpening, and we have sharpening. Now these are all pinnable items on Corel's AfterShot Pro. So we can either, right now I have these pinned because I use them, but we can unpin them and they'll disappear and you'll have less to deal with on this side. But I really want them. I like having them here. I kind of haven't had them for so long using Lightroom. I kind of like it. It's really nice that everything is on one screen. So I'm going to leave those pins there. So let's go ahead and bump up the exposure just a little bit. I'm going to come down to exposure. I'm going to take that from 0. Maybe we'll bring it up to maybe 0.28, 0.30. That looks pretty good to me. Now I'm going to do the same thing over here. Once again, we're not in the library module, we're in the development module. And from exposure, we're going to bump that up just a little bit. We're going to twirl down basic. We're going to move over the exposure, once again, just a little bit. Now, bear in mind, the numbers that we receive on Lightroom are not going to be the same numbers. It's not going to be exact. And you can see, even if you have a color calibrated monitor, you're going to see that there's a slight difference in Kelvin between the two. I could probably get them identical, but just for this demo, I'm not going to bother. Now, as far as exposure, I like the exposure. I like them on both. I'm going to go ahead and now bump up contrast just a little bit over here on the AfterShot, and I'm going to bump up contrast also here on Adobe Lightroom. Perfect. I like it. Not bad. Normally, I'll take shadows and I'll bump some shadows up. Maybe we'll darken some blacks. It depends if something got blown out. It's a little bit muddy. We want to kind of darken things up. Maybe play with some saturation. But either which way, everything is here for you to play with on both packages. The next thing would be sharpening. Now, we always like to do a little bit of sharpening, and we like to do also some noise control. Now, I would like to go and take a look at this person up close, and I want to take a look and do some pixel peeping, let's say in her face. We can double click on the image, and what it will do is it'll bring it up to 100%. We can go over to Lightroom, double click on the image also, it'll bring it up to 100%. So looking at this, now let's say if I want to really get in close to look at it, Lightroom, we really can't do anything about getting any closer. It is kind of what it is. What we would have to do is go into the navigator here. Right now we're at a 1:1. We can go to a 2:1 that will give us a 200%. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to click on a 2:1, and when I click on it to zoom, it will zoom into 200%. If I want to go back to 100%, once again, I got to go to this twirl and go and select the 1:1 ratio in comparison to a 2:1 ratio. But let's go ahead and leave that alone for right now. We're going to come over here to AfterShot. Now I'm going to show you something really cool that I really like. Now down here at the bottom, you have this really nice slider. We can slide in and out and make the image as zoomed in or as not zoomed in as we would like. Right? So let's go ahead and bring this back to 100. I like that a lot. But what I like even better is it provides us with a loop. If we come up here and we click on the small magnifying glass up here, or if we just simply hit the little tilde, it brings up this amazing loop. This is so cool. If I would like to see the exact image as it would be, but I want to go in there and look at something without having to double click in, double click out, double click in, double click out, back and forth. I can simply click on the little tilde and bring up my little, let's call it a jeweler's loop, and look at the image up close. That is so great, because if I'm going in and I'm selecting, let's say, from 4 or 5 or 6 images, and I want to, and they all look great, but I just want to select, let's say, the one that is the most crisp, the one that I don't have to do that much work after the fact. I can come in here with this little loop and say, oh, this is the one, and then give that the 1 star and turn everything else back to 0 stars. Whereas if I was to go and do the same thing in Lightroom, what do I have to do? Well, in Lightroom, I have to go and click twice, then go back into the image. Double click again, go back out of the image. Back into the next one, zoom in, and I don't know where I left off, right? So I like the loop. The loop is very cool. It feels old school. It feels like I have a light table and I'm looking at negatives. And I could just come in here, click on my loop, and then see up close exactly a 1:1 ratio on what this image looks like. And it does it real time. Very, very cool. I like that. So anyways, we have this all set up. We have the images. Let's go ahead now and radial twirl this back out so that we can see everything. I'm going to bring back up the library so that we can have the thumbnails up on the Lightroom side. On the Corel side, that's all we need to do is simply click on the thumbnail button and then twirl this over too. So we have the exact same from side to side. We can also, at any time, get rid of the left side, which has our directory tree. We can do the same thing on both sides. Let's go ahead and do that so we have more screen real estate, more room. And there we go. Now, what do? Let's say this is it. We're all done. These are great. We want to give these to the client. We want to show them some proofs. We can do that very easily. So let's do Lightroom first. So to do this, what do we need to do? We need to go to File, then Export, and then from Export, we get a nice list of options of what we can export, on what size we can export. Should we do any modification to the picture during export or after export? Should we watermark? On and on and on. What folder we want to put it into. And I'm going to hit Export. Now, up here at the top, you can see exporting 29 images. So far, it's done about maybe 5. Now it's done about, that's close to 10, and it's still going. Let's see how long it takes to go ahead and export these out. Once again, it's not relative, but since we're doing it, we're doing the act of actually testing, we might as well just test it live while I'm doing this between the two of them. So now we're at about 20, and it's got maybe 9 left to go, almost done. And there we go. Task complete. It's exported the 29 images as JPEGs. Fantastic. Now, back over here to Corel AfterShot. Once again, we're going to go ahead and select all of these images. And now we're going to go to File, and we're going to do Export, Export Files. And it's going to bring up a similar type of screen, not as, I would say, polished as the export on the Adobe Lightroom side. So all right, from here we're just going to simply click JPEG instead of TIFF. We're going to do a 100% quality on the JPEG, leave it on normal. We're going to resize to 640 by 480. Now, the one thing that I'd have to say, guys, that I do not see in here that I feel that is kind of missing. I do not see an option anywhere to embed a watermark. Now, for me, that is major. Now, maybe there's a plugin. Maybe I'm missing something. If I am, I apologize. But as of right now, as far as what I can see here, I do not see any methodology of adding a watermark. And I really feel that is very, very important. If you're exporting 2,000 images, you want to put watermarks in the bottom of all of them. You don't want to have to go and after the fact go do it in Photoshop or some other method. So if it's in here and I'm missing it, I apologize. If not, it really needs to be in here. Everything else is pretty much the same. You could do your metadata changing of your IPTC stuff, your XF stuff, your XMP files, all of this type of stuff. It does embed your copyright information in it. I'm going to click on OK, and let's see how long it takes. Here we go. Exporting. It says that at the bottom, 29 images, and down at the bottom here, I see that we have this little rotation. So as of right now, it's exporting. And we're going to take a look at how long it takes. It's still exporting and exporting and exporting. So here we go. 29 exported in 23.6 seconds. That's 0.8 seconds per image is what it just told me. Now, I think you guys can tell that the export was a lot faster than on Lightroom. Why that is, once again, I don't know. The Corel, even though it's kind of a little bit maybe not as refined, it just seems snappier. So let's go ahead and take a look at this file folder, bring up a SCADA, and take a look at the images that it created. We click on proofs. Let's go ahead and bring up the first image. And there we go. I'm going to go to Proofs AfterShot and click on the exact same image. And when we look at them, they are basically identical. There's really nothing different between the two. The color, the clarity, the size, the way it created it, everything about it looks identical to the naked eye here. So all in all, I think both packages are really good. I've been a Lightroom user since Beta 1. For me, I'm very familiar with Lightroom. Am I going to move to Corel? Well, not this moment. Do I like Corel's AfterShot Pro 2? Absolutely. I like it a lot. If I didn't have Adobe Lightroom right now, would I be more than satisfied with Corel AfterShot Pro 2? Absolutely. It does a fantastic job and it's extremely snappy. I like it a lot. Bear in mind, guys, once Adobe goes with this paid model, and now every product that they have is a paid for product, and you have to pay a subscription to own that product. I think at that point, there is going to be some of us out there that will start migrating away from Adobe into alternative packages. Is Corel AfterShot Pro 2 one of those alternative packages? Absolutely. I would not even question using it as a professional on a daily basis. I haven't had any crashes. It works just extremely snappy. I like the things that it has over Lightroom. There's a couple of things that I really need to that could be possible deal breakers. For example, the copyright problem. Maybe the copyright problem will end up being resolved, or maybe it's just something that I missed, but that's something that I would definitely have to look at. All in all, I give the Corel AfterShot Pro 2 definitely 2 thumbs up. Will I be using it on a daily basis? I don't know. I might start using it for a little while and kind of get even a better feel for it. And once again, if you guys are interested, let me know, and I would look at possibly putting together some tutorials for you on the specific items that you have interest in. So anyways, that's it. That's kind of like a side-by-side of the 2 packages. Hope you enjoyed that. Once again, if there's any other information that you want to know about Corel or Lightroom, let me know.
All right, so we're back. And Joe, that was really a good comparison.
Thank you very much, my friend.
I've mentioned before, I'm not a big Lightroom user myself. I have used it. I've done a couple projects in it, but most of the photography work I do, I don't really need Lightroom. I don't need that type of cataloging and organization and stuff.
Right.
But Joe, I mean, I know this is right up your alley. I mean, you do a lot of work with Lightroom. So, you know, I look to you for this comparison into what your workflow is and how this really compares to AfterShot. And from the, you know, the demo that you gave, the examples that you showed, it really looks like they're pretty close in capabilities, at least for, you know, for that portion of the workflow.
Yeah,
you know,
pleasantly surprised, actually.
Yeah,
I was pleasantly surprised. Yeah, and I've looked at a lot of different packages that you know, that I've used from Linux even to the Apple side and PC. And I'm always, you know, for the last, let's say 6 months to a year, I've been looking for alternatives to Adobe product. Not that I'm leaving Adobe, but the fact of the matter is we talk to a lot of people out there, and many do not have that $9.99, $9.99 every month, or $29.99 or $50 a month to pay for a subscription-based model software. And then so they ask, you know, what can I do if I don't want to do the subscription? So this is really what I've been kind of honing in on and concentrating on as of late. And you know, pleasantly, this is definitely, I would say, a alternative to using Lightroom for all of your development. I mean, it is right on par.
Yeah, it looked really good. I mean, I would say, I mean, my impression from what I get, if you're just starting out, needing some software to catalog, organize, and make edits and selects and everything to your images, I would say, you know, AfterShot Pro 2 would be a great way to go. If you're already in the Adobe camp, should you switch? Probably not. You know,
okay. So for me, looking at it as doing this all the time and doing thousands and thousands of, you know, hundreds of thousands of photos a year, my thing is speed. My thing has always been time is money. Anytime I can get something done quicker, I'm making more money. Right. That's the bottom line. So I'm going to play with this some more. I'm going to delve a little deeper. I'm going to do a little bit more, you know, corrective stuff and some other things, and just see how it works out. And I'm going to do some exporting of large batches, maybe 1,000+ images. For what I've seen so far, I tell you what, Corel is very snappy. I mean, it's quick.
Right.
It does what it does, and it does it well, and it does it quickly, no crashes. It looks really nice. I do like some of the features that it has that Lightroom doesn't have, like the loop. I love that.
Yeah, that was nice.
Loop.
That was really nice. I mean, even, you know, even in graphics programs, even in Photoshop programs, you know, it would really be nice to be able to just have that, you know, that quick loop-like pop up to where you can zoom in on a batch of pixels and look at something real quick without having to go and grab the magnifying glass, or, you know, Command plus, Command plus, you know, all right, you know, Command 0, Command Z, you know, or whatever, you know, to get back. And you
just think about the back end there, Trev, to enlarge the entire image, let's say 200, 400, 800 times, in comparison to enlarging, let's say, a 200 by 200 round circle. Yeah. It's got to be less weighty, you know, on the software to do that, just to zoom in.
Yeah. I mean, one of the things they do talk about on the AfterShot Pro 2 website is the speed of which the software runs. And I did notice that in the video you did. I mean, you know, side-by-side comparison, you know, your exporting that you did, your bringing in, your importing that you did, just certain functions, the access to tools. I mean, rather than 2 steps, you only have 1 step to get to it.
Right.
So
Right.
things like that definitely help speed things up.
Yeah. I like the idea of the lack of modules with
I agree.
AfterShot. Having
That's
5,
confusing.
6, 7
all these different
modules.
modules. I mean, that's confusing, especially to somebody who doesn't really know the software all that well, or who's just getting started.
Yeah. It just feels like 5, 6, 7 different crews of programmers that wrote software, wrote a module, and then you had another guy that now bootstraps it all together, and hopes that it all plays nicely together. So you have just certain things are done in one way in the library module. The exact same thing is done differently in the development module. It looks a little bit different. It's just there's no continuity there.
Yeah.
The one thing I really can say about Corel, the Corel package, is the idea of having everything accessible to you at any given time, and then being able to pin on that main screen anything that is of interest or importance to your workflow. That just simplifies everything because it's right there at your fingertips whenever you need it, instead of bouncing around all over the place.
Yeah, it did feel more fluid to me. It just seemed like the workflow was a little bit smoother. It was less again, like you said, going into different modules to do different tasks. So I do like. Now, one thing you did say in the video is that the watermarking was a problem. And after the video, after I watched it too, I'm like, we should try and figure this out. And you did some more digging and you figured out what needed to be done, right?
Yeah, it's kludgy. It is, kludgy at best. How it works is you use a plugin. It's called ZText, and ZText will allow you to put any type of text and any aspect ratio and any different size. They'll put it in there. You can set it up to just copy paste onto an image, right? Which is okay, but it's kludgy. I don't like it. Another way to do it is now create that ZText and then change that, let's say that plugin into a preset. And then what you can do is on export say, okay, I want this preset, which is now your Z text, to be placed or to be executed. And then every single image does receive that watermarking. Listen, Corel, if you're listening, fix that. Just hire a couple of guys, give them 2 or 3 boxes of pizza and some Mountain Dew, and take that functionality and stick it into the package.
Build it into the core,
because the pros need it. Yeah. They want it. They're going to request it. They have been requesting it for ever since about 2012 or even before, as doing my reading and research. So it needs to be done. Yeah. You have an awesome package here. This is like just a thread away from being, I would have to say, I would just go with this over Lightroom any day. But there's certain things like that you need to address and get that fixed, because it definitely is required. Right. Also in export is okay. Lightroom definitely has it beat on the export. It needs to be cleaned up a little bit. This is just UI, the UI stuff. Kind of fix it a little bit. But listen, on a whole, Trev, I would have to say definitely the package. I give it 2 thumbs up. Anyone that is a pro photographer or amateur photographer that needs to do asset management as well as development of their digital raw images, I would have to say definitely Corel. Give it a look-see. What's really nice is the price, right, man? Yeah. I mean, you can go and get a free trial. It's a limited time trial. Sure. But after that, for the full version, it's $49.99. And if you already had the older version of AfterShot, you can upgrade. Or if you have a competitive product, they listed Bibble Pro or Light 5, Corel AfterShot Pro, which is the first version, Corel PaintShot Pro, Photo X2 or higher, and then you have or Adobe Lightroom or Apple Aperture. So if you have any of those programs, you can get the upgrade price for $39.99. Yeah,
which is awesome.
Pops out there. Yeah, that's $39.99 is cheap. I mean, for this package, this is all day $39.99. That's just throw that money down. It's a no-brainer. And back to the final one that you said, Aperture. So what did Adobe do? Is they created a very easy way to bring aperture people, migrate them into the Lightroom biosphere, let's call it.
Right.
Well, Corel, you guys need to do the same thing. You need to do the same thing. You're giving this out at $39.95. I mean, that's a cheap price. So if anyone has Aperture, if they don't want to go the Lightroom method, they can come into Corel AfterShot Pro 2 for $40. Now, remember, guys, $40 is it. That's what you pay for. You own the package, period. The thing with Lightroom is, and with Adobe packages, is lately they're doing that subscription model like we were talking about 5 minutes ago. Yeah. Once they go subscription, there's going to be a lot of us that say, do we want to go down this route, or do we want to buy something? So I really think at that point, Corel is going to be in the driver's seat, because I think it's probably one of the best asset managers and developers that I've seen so far.
Right. I mean, Lightroom for a first-time purchase as a standalone, because it still is available as a standalone software, is $149. Right. If you already have it as a standalone, you want to upgrade, it's $79. Right. Or you have the $9.99 per month for the Photography Creative Cloud Edition, and that gives you Lightroom and Photoshop. So, you know, if you're vested in Adobe and you need Photoshop and everything, then maybe that's the way to go. If you really don't necessarily need Photoshop, maybe another program will work for you. You know, we've talked about Photoshop alternatives in the past. You know, some people are on, you know, obviously a good portion of our audience are on Macs. So the Corel software, there are other options, are not Mac compatible. So that may be out for you, but AfterShot is. I mean, that's Windows, Mac, and Linux. So, which is really cool.
Yeah. So, all right, man, we need to get out of here. Hopefully you guys enjoyed that. It was a little bit different than the normal show. But if you guys want to hear any more about it, or any more detail in regards to either Lightroom or AfterShot Pro 2, you know, write in. Let us know. Let us know what you think. Yeah. Give it a shot. It's free. Try it. Obviously, we're not sponsored by them. We have no, you know, there's no affiliation either which direction with Adobe or Corel. So either which way, definitely look at it. It's definitely something to check out if you guys if you've never used it before, for sure.
That's right. That's right. All right, Joe, let's roll. So if people want to connect with you outside of the show, what's the best way for them to reach you?
You can find me on Twitter, and that's at Joseph Christina, and that's Christina without an H.
Great, and you can connect with me on Twitter. It's at Trevor Curran.
So, all right, everyone, we are out of here for yet another week. You can get all the show notes from this episode by visiting digitalphotographycafe.com/171. And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/dphotocafe. And we will see you next week.
You've been watching the Digital Photography Cafe show with Trevor Curran and Joseph Christina. Subscribe to our YouTube channel with any compatible device by visiting youtube.com/dphotocafe. Be sure to subscribe to our audio feed through iTunes, Stitcher, TuneIn, and Xbox Music apps, or through RSS. Visit digitalphotographycafe.com for show notes and to connect with your host.